Hello, my name is Savannah Dorsett, and I am the Houston Public Library staff member in charge of the Classic Literature Book Club. We meet the second Tuesday of every month at noon in room 479 at the Central Library downtown. The focus of the Classic Literature Book Club is the oldies but the goodies in literature. Our theme this year is Women in Literature, and has featured such varied female characters as Medea and Eliza Doolittle from the George Bernard Shaw play Pygmalion, which you may know as the movie My Fair Lady. Today we are reading Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. So in the past 7 months we have hopscotched from ancient Greece to Imperial Russia. If your taste in literature run towards the classics, please join us next month, August 12th, on Tuesday, in room 479, where we will be reading Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote. Read it in the traditional way. You read it in the traditional way, or a modern take on an old classic as an ebook or audiobook, which can be accessed via our website, houstonlibrary.org, and our digital media applications, Overdrive or Hoopla, which are all free and only require a Houston Public Library card. HPL is linking you to the world and classic literature.
Helen, and I actually started last January, so I'm a newcomer.
I am Hella, and I have been a member of this group since it was started after the library was reopened.
Classic literature is my passion. I used to teach it. In fact, people laughed at me that I don't know anything modern, so I'm trying to rectify it now that I'm no longer working.
I love classic literature also. I especially enjoy the fact that many of the books that we are reading here I read a long time ago, and rereading them now makes me really think about the books in a very different way, and I really truly enjoy that particularly.
What did you think of?
I also read Anna Karenina when I was very young, and I don't think I had any understanding of it. I just enjoyed it on a very superficial level, and I find that it's such a multi-layered novel. There are so many characters, there are so many modern issues. By modern I mean of the 19th century, things that really impinge on what happened in the 20th century, and the portrayal of the aristocracy versus the peasants. There's so much going on, and the characters are somehow involved in each aspect of the novel.
Hello?
I was very happy when we decided to reread Anna Karenina. Every year we kind of take on one big one, and this year's was Anna Karenina. I also had very good memories of it. I read it when I was very young, and I came away with a very different impression of it. I think that actually the main character is treated very unfairly by the author, set up, and has to die very, very painfully. I am very interested in discussing this in comparison with the other books we are reading this year, because we are reading mostly about women characters, and Anna Karenina clearly belongs to a period where women were seen in a very particular place in society, and she doesn't fit in, and therefore that she fails. As we will read more modern novels about women, that will change, and the women characters actually will become more interesting.
I enjoyed all the selections. Honestly, it was just such a joy to be able to talk about The Awakening, The Wife of Bath. I'm looking forward to Ingrid Undset. You know, it's just a joy to be able to read things that I may not have read before and reread what I had.
I enjoy most of the books. Some of them, well, you know, you come away and you read it, but okay. My favorite, of course, has to be The Mayor of Casterbridge, which we read a couple of years ago. And I think Thomas Hardy is just a really stellar author. That probably, that's my favorite.
Read Breakfast at Tiffany's. All I know about it is the movie. So yes, I'm looking forward to reading it.
Oh yes. Every year we take on one that everybody ought to read, should have read, and I might have tried to read 3 or 4 times but put it down. And this group just, everybody in this group reads the books. That is just wonderful. So this group kind of forces you to read the book. So yeah, so there is Ulysses. I read it. There's Moby Dick. Read that too. So yes, indeed, this group does a lot for my reading.
It's really good to talk to grown-ups who are intelligent and who think about something. It's definitely more intellectual than probably some groups, and I have enjoyed every minute of it.
I love the discussions because we are beginning, we kind of know each other and we're friends, and we have very different perspectives, and I learn something every time. I just love the discussions.
Because there would be no modern literature without classic literature for a start, and it really shows you the evolution of society and of the way authors think and what it is that they want to convey to their readers.
Well, classic literature is the proven and the true. It has held up over the years, and people of each generation discovering it again. There is just something to it that makes it really meaningful to the different generations.
Because I would like to encourage people to come here. We are really fun, even if we have strange accents. And we think about what we read, and we would like input from other people.
Yes, indeed. This is clearly a promotional item. We would love for people to come and join our fun group.
Because left to their own devices, people have other things to do, so it's a little bit of a commitment having to read something and actually prepare somewhat for a discussion. And it just, you learn from every encounter because people have so much to say.
Some of these books are not very easy to read. You really have to get your mind going. It's a challenge, which is good for us, but it's not. It's some of them you really have to work a little bit, and I like that, and I think that is a very good thing to do.
Really looking forward to Tess of the D'Urbervilles and North and South, but I'll enjoy all of them. I'll certainly read them.
I think we have a fabulous program for the rest of the year, actually. And I also look forward to the 2, but I also look very forward to Sigrid Undset's Gunnar's Daughter, which is very different. It's written in the style of an Old Norse Edda, but boy, do we have a woman character in that one.
Hi, my name is Caroline Brooks. I am an HPL employee, and Anna Karenina is my first title to read with the book club. Well, the notion of a book club, I had always tried to get some started whenever I was in high school, and generally people of our generation aren't super interested in book clubs. They've got better things to do. So I was just really excited about the idea of meeting with people who were interested in discussing books and passionate about it and enthusiastic about it, because that's kind of a rarity for people in their 20s. I was kind of surprised by how I reacted to Anna Karenina, actually. Before I read it, I kind of knew the broad strokes of the story. I knew that she was a tragic figure, that she threw herself under a train, and I kind of expected myself to sympathize with her more, but there were ways in which I thought Tolstoy reflected her as a sympathetic character, especially in the dealing with her having to cut herself off from her son, who she loved very, very much. But there were other ways where I thought she just made really poor, irrational choices. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I think there were ways in which he was progressive for a older male writer in 19th century Russia. he didn't completely demonize her for abandoning her family, which is probably the predominant notion of a woman abandoning her family. But there were other ways where I thought that he didn't seem to respect her intellect or her reason. There was a point in the novel where her husband offered her a divorce, and it was essentially a solution to all the problems that she had. She could have married Vronsky, she could have had her place back in Russian society, and instead she chose, without explanation, to just leave Russia and go to Europe. And I found myself having a hard time sympathizing with her choices. And I don't want to call Tolstoy a misogynist, but I can't think of any female characters in the story whose intellect I really admired, whose choices I really respected. Even the relationship that was supposed to be the healthiest and the most loving, which was Levin and Kitty, I felt like Levin loved Kitty for the ways that he idealized her, for her being kind of a model of what he wanted femininity to be. But Levin had all these really interesting things going on in his head, all of these big questions that he was dealing with, and he shared none of that with Kitty. He never had any discussions with her, he never questioned her about any of it. He seemed to love her because he thought that she was soft and kind and would make a good mother. And I kind of wanted to see other views of women in his novel. Really important because it still applies. The things that those characters are dealing with, their struggles, those are things that still apply to our lives in modernity. I think questioning how Tolstoy thought about women made me think about how I think about women and women's roles and my role and what I want from a marriage. And I think classic literature can teach us about how we live our lives.
And saying, yes, I'm going to read Anna Karenina.
That is a big time commitment. It's a huge novel. I think it's important because specifically in book clubs, and in this book club in particular, I get to hear different women's, from different generations, perspectives on characters that I might get insight into it in a way that I didn't necessarily pick up whenever I was reading it. And that teaches me something about how I interpret a novel as opposed to how another woman from a different background would interpret that novel. I think I'm really excited about Breakfast at Tiffany's because I've not read Breakfast at Tiffany's, and my only exposure to it is the movie with Audrey Hepburn, which I really loved growing up, but now, since I've heard more about what the novel really is, I'm really interested to see kind of some of like the seedier aspects that they left out of the movie. They kind of whitewashed it a little bit, and I'm excited about that. Specifically with Tolstoy, I think I went into it expecting to really identify with the tragedy of her circumstances, and being able to discuss it with other people and have other people say, you know what, like, she's kind of ridiculous. Like, there are ways in which I think Tolstoy kind of short-shifted her and made her not a sympathetic character, made me feel like I was a part of community, like what I was feeling, the way that I felt about the novel, I wasn't alone in that, I wasn't isolated.
I invite you to join us every second Tuesday of the month at the Central Library, downtown, 12 noon, room 479. Hope to see you there.